Hey, man, I watch Law and Order. I ain't no cop. I ain't no lawyer. I watch Law and Order. You know what I'm saying? And the way this is going, it looks like a certain type of thing is going down.
For almost 30 years, we believed we knew the story of that tragic night in Las Vegas. The strip glowing with neon lights, a BMW racing down the boulevard, then the sudden spray of bullets that supposedly ended Tupac Shakur's life, and an entire era of hip-hop. But what if I told you everything you thought you knew was a carefully crafted illusion? Tonight, the narrative cracks wide open. Because Mopreme Shakur, Tupac's own brother, has stepped forward with a revelation so explosive, it threatens to rewrite hip-hop history itself.
It's convoluted, chaotic. It's hard to actually figure out what's what, but it's becoming clearer. It's becoming clearer and clearer. But
He isn't just suggesting there's more to the story, he's outright confirming that what the world was told was a cover-up, a carefully arranged script designed to bury the truth forever. And according to him, Tupac may not have died that night. He may have escaped, forced into hiding, living as a fugitive with one of the most powerful men in hip-hop as his enemy. That man? Diddy. This isn't a random vlogger recycling old rumors. This isn't clickbait. This is blood. This is family. Mopreme appeared on Piers Morgan's show, staring straight into the camera with the same fire, the same quiet intensity that his brother once carried. When asked about Diddy's endless denials, Mopreme didn't dodge. He didn't soften his words. He said he had doubts, serious doubts. And then, chillingly, he reminded viewers of something he told Diddy almost 2 decades ago. The truth always comes out.
Quite possibly, and it's kind of looking that way, in my opinion.
It seems to me your opinion is that Diddy absolutely has something to do with your brother's death.
Now here we are, nearly 3 decades later, and it feels like those words are finally starting to come true. Because if Tupac's own brother refuses to accept Diddy's innocence, then how much of what we were fed about that night in '96 can we actually believe?
the boy Puffy called me, though. Puffy called me back in the day. Back in the day, he called me. He was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's,
This isn't speculation. We know for a fact that in 2008, Diddy personally reached out to Mopreme through radio host Big Boy. Imagine that. The king of bad boy records, rattled enough by whispers that he called the Shakur family himself. Surrounded by his entourage, Diddy swore up and down that he had nothing to do with the shooting. But Mopreme wasn't buying it. He told him face to face. The truth always comes out. And now, decades later, Mopreme admits it looks more and more like Diddy's reassurances weren't completely honest.
I don't see that individual not paying for it in some kind of way. What was the incentive?
But Mopreme's doubts aren't floating in isolation. They're tied to decades of whispers, stretching back to 1996. Those who wanted to speak suddenly went silent. Investigations stalled, files disappeared. Insiders claimed Diddy had a cleanup squad, a shadowy crew that handled problems, silenced voices, and buried inconvenient truths. Think about it. After almost 30 years, only one man, Keefe D, has ever been officially charged. Yet dozens of names connected to that night never saw a courtroom. Was someone making sure the truth never reached daylight? Even law enforcement circles whisper the same thing. Federal records reveal that in a secretly recorded police interview, Diddy's name came up more than 40 times. 40 times. Keefe D himself claimed that Diddy put a bounty on Tupac and Suge Knight's heads, millions of dollars to take them out. He even described Diddy allegedly saying, "I'll give anything for that dude's head."
They don't want him to embarrass their reputation and things that they've been known for. You understand? I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand. That's why a lot of those rappers, that's why a lot of those athletes, they not saying nothing and they quiet as a church mouse.
If it was just empty talk, why has it been repeated in so many sworn statements, word for word? And why, decades later, do prosecutors still keep that tape locked away? Meanwhile, Diddy's empire, the shiny facade of parties, music, and celebrity, is crumbling under scandal, arrested for racketeering, facing trial for trafficking and coercion. What was once portrayed as a glamorous empire now looks more like a criminal syndicate dressed in silk. And during raids on his mansions, agents found something chilling. Files stamped with a single word. Cuba. That word reignited the most persistent rumor of all. Tupac didn't die. He staged his own disappearance and fled to the island where his aunt, Assata Shakur, has lived in exile for decades. Fans have sworn they've seen him in Havana, grainy footage of a man with the same gait, the same bald head, the same fire in his eyes. So why, in Diddy's home, would there be Cuban files? Evidence not only of his role in the shooting, but also in controlling the myth of Tupac's disappearance. And then there's Michael Nice, Tupac's former bodyguard, who once swore he smuggled Pac out himself, claiming Castro sanctioned it. He said they switched bodies at the hospital, and Pac boarded a jet to Cuba. At the time, his story was dismissed as wild conspiracy. But then, just as he promised to release proof, Michael Nice mysteriously died. Years later, federal raids uncover Cuban references inside Diddy's files. Was Michael Nice telling the truth all along? And if so, why would Diddy have documentation that ties him directly to it?
He first decided to sit down and talk. That's the first thing that he always said, Keisha, I'm not going to live, past a certain time, or, I know I'm going to get shot up. He knew that. That was, the one thing that he did know.
The unanswered questions only pile higher. Why did no bystander ever see the shooter on one of the busiest nights in Vegas? Why were Tupac's weight and height listed incorrectly on the coroner's report? Why did the cremator retire immediately after handling his case? Why did Suge Knight later suggest Pac was alive, telling TMZ in 2014, "Why you think nobody been arrested?" Because Tupac not gone, each detail alone is suspicious. Together, they form a roadmap pointing to deception. And now, with Mopreme's words echoing across headlines, the ground beneath this story shakes. He's careful, yes, but his restraint speaks louder than any denial. Because if he were certain Diddy had nothing to do with it, he'd say so. Instead, he leaves us with questions, with doubts, with an ominous reminder. Once more, we're going to see. For a man carrying his brother's pain for 30 years, Mopreme doesn't waste words. And those words cut deep. The time for lies is ending. And the truth? It has claws. And those claws may be coming for Diddy. And as prosecutors struggle in Diddy's ongoing trial, witnesses already vanish. One victim listed in indictments can't even be found. Not by her lawyers, not by investigators.
I haven't heard anything about that part of the story from the prosecutor's office. I haven't heard anything about Puffy from the prosecutor's office.
If witnesses can disappear today, what do you think happened in 1996 when the stakes were even higher? Is this the modern echo of the same cleanup squad? And the Cuba theory refuses to die. Each time new evidence emerges, Havana's shadow looms larger. Was Diddy shielding knowledge that Tupac lived on, hidden in a safe corner of the Caribbean? Did he build power and profit by keeping the world convinced that Pac was gone, while he alone knew the truth? What secrets were locked away in those Cuba files? Communications, payments, encrypted recordings? Were they the connective tissue that ties rumor to reality? Behind the platinum plaques and champagne-soaked parties, Bad Boy Records starts to look less like a label and more like a criminal empire. Former associates describe a world where saying no to Diddy wasn't an option. Debts became threats, favors turned into chains. If that same machinery was running in 1996, is it any surprise the investigation into Tupac's death collapsed before it even began? And then there's Suge Knight. Love him or hate him, the one man who lived through that night and survived. Behind the wheel when Pac was shot, building his own empire in the aftermath, and now sitting behind bars. In 2014, he flat out said Pac wasn't gone. If Mopreme has lit the spark, Sugi might hold the dynamite. If he testifies, if he confirms Pac staged his own disappearance, the fallout would be nuclear. Suge has nothing left to lose, except the chance to go down as the man who blew the cover off hip-hop's darkest secret. And here's the terrifying possibility. What if it's all true? What if Diddy wasn't just running wild parties, but a full-blown criminal network? What if prosecutors uncover even a shred of evidence connecting his empire to Tupac's disappearance?
He implicates him on these videos that they claim they're using to indict him. Even you got a Crip affiliate from somewhere, but you still not gonna talk about the guy that he mentions by name on the thing?
Then history doesn't just change, it detonates. The headlines would scream, Tupac alive. Diddy exposed. The world wouldn't just be watching a mogul fall, we'd be watching hip-hop royalty collapse, its brightest star revealed to have been stolen from us. Not by death, but by deception. So, here we stand, on the edge of revelation. Mopreme's words were the crack. Sook might hold the dynamite. Prosecutors keep pulling threads. And if this tapestry unravels, the scandal could topple the last illusions of untouchable power in hip-hop. What do you believe? Did Tupac truly die on the Vegas Strip? Or has he been alive all along, hidden in exile, while Diddy built an empire on his disappearance? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this mystery isn't finished. Not by a long shot. And remember, truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deep you bury it.